What will be your breaking point before you change? Wake up, eat, brush your teeth, work 9 to 5, go to bed, repeat. Wake up, eat, brush your teeth, work 9 to 5, go to bed, repeat. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? We choose the jobs we take. We've chosen the life we live. The person you are right now and the life you live is a reflection of all the choices you've made up to this point. Most of us put up with being comfortable in our discomfort, living a life we know isn't fulfilling, working a job we don't like, and staying in relationships that make us unhappy. But we usually don't do anything about it. Before I started my journey as a YouTube creator, I was a little depressed. Working jobs I didn't like, in a relationship that wasn't fulfilling, living my life on autopilot. I'd wake up, go to the gym, go to work, go to bed, and repeat. Every single day. And I was getting tired. I wasn't challenging myself and was just taking what life was throwing at me. I was stressed. And I hit the point where all I could think was, I've had it and I just can't take any more of this. Everyone hits their breaking point in different ways, and they hit their breaking point at different times. Some people freeze up, they're unable to respond, and other people explode on the innocent barista who might have made their coffee wrong. But at some point, the stress just boils up and you break. But what separates people from one another is what they do when they hit that inevitable breaking point. Like, yeah, you can lash out and scream at the cashier, or you can use your frustration to start building towards unlocking your true potential. Your breaking point is meant to test you. It's meant to help you realize that something is not right, and it's time to make a change. There are generally two types of stress that we face in life: acute and chronic stress. Acute stress is something that happens suddenly. It's getting fired from a job or a road rage incident or getting into a car crash. It causes your body to tense up and enter fight or flight mode, releasing different hormones that cause you to feel stressed in this instance. When we look at chronic stress, on the other hand, that is closer to a dripping faucet. This is the stress that eventually causes people to break. Drip, drip, drip. First, you might notice that water is dripping and you might not really be bothered by it. But you're trying to sleep and that small drip is in the background, which starts to make you become frustrated. But then it gets to the point where it's dripping and you just can't take it anymore. It's driving you crazy and something has to happen. You can call a plumber or fix the leak yourself. But either way, enough is enough. Ever have a fly or a mosquito in your room later on at night? You could have chosen to take action when you first noticed the issue, before it started getting on your nerves. But this is just an analogy for how we live our lives. We all have a breaking point, but you need to recognize what's making you feel that way and then be proactive, rather than reactive and waiting for the inevitable implosion or explosion. I was working 9 to 5 in car sales, and the pandemic had shut everything down. Now, rewinding a little bit, in 2019, I had started performing stand-up comedy as a way to try to break out of my shell, and I no longer had that creative outlet because of the shutdowns. Coworkers had created a toxic work environment, and I hated waking up every morning, having to repeat the same day over and over again. It was an evil version of Groundhog Day. I developed stomach ulcers. I was tired all the time. I had trouble sleeping and was losing interest in day-to-day life. I felt empty, hopeless, anxious, worthless, and while I didn't have an official diagnosis, clinically depressed might be a pretty accurate way to describe what I was going through at the time and the way that I was feeling. It kind of sucked. So I made a change. I picked up an old cell phone and I started shooting YouTube videos of the cars at the dealership that I was working at. 14 months later, and I was making enough through the channel for my rent to be covered. So I took a leave of absence, and that was only supposed to be for 2 weeks, but I never went back. It took me getting sick and tired of being sick and tired until I decided to make a change. And everyone has a breaking point, but what you do with it is up to you. You determine the outcome through the thoughts you choose to let through and then the actions that you choose to take. Sigmund Freud once said, "One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful." Different things can lead us to experiencing breaking points, including excessive stress, traumatic experiences, mental health issues, financial problems, relationship problems, different struggles like physical health challenges. There are so many things. There are so many reasons why we might end up facing a breaking point, but it's something that we can't avoid. It's something we're eventually going to be facing, but it's how we respond that makes the difference. But let's look at some people who have faced a breaking point, but rather than lashing out, they've used it in order to create a strong will and determination to do great things. Stephen King's experience with breaking points is a fascinating example of how a setback can become a turning point for success. After getting more than 30 rejections on his first novel, Carrie, King was on the brink of giving up on his writing career. In his own words, he was deeply in debt and couldn't even afford to fix the typewriter where he was writing his first 2 novels. But he didn't let this disappointment defeat him. Instead, he used it as motivation to persevere and hone his craft, going on to publish 60 novels and selling over 350 million copies of his books worldwide. The most important things are the hardest things to say. Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You need to be willing to confront fear and failure and then just keep pushing forward. And him doing that is a testament to his courage and resilience. Setbacks can be a catalyst for growth, and that with perseverance, determination, and a willingness to learn from mistakes can make anyone achieve greatness. Another good example is Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry's journey to success is an incredible example of how breaking points can be used as a fuel to achieve amazing things. Perry's childhood was marked by abuse and poverty. He was homeless for several years as a young adult, and despite these challenges, he remained committed to pursuing his dreams of becoming a writer and a filmmaker. Tyler Perry's first play, I Know I've Been Changed, was initially unsuccessful, but he didn't let that discourage him. Instead, he continued to write and produce plays, eventually developing a pretty loyal and devoted following. In 2005, Perry made his first film debut as a director with Diary of a Mad Black Woman, which was a pretty huge commercial and critical success. Harry said, I believe that everything happens for a reason. All of the good, all of the bad, all of the happy, all of the sad. Everything happens to teach us something. He used his difficult experiences as inspiration for his work, creating characters and stories that resonate with audiences around the world. You have to make the decision that you are not going to be defeated. You have to be strong and you have to believe in yourself. You can do this. One of our biggest problems is that we always want to be in control. We want to be in charge. We feel so lost and broken when we hit a breaking point because we feel like we're no longer in control. Going through a breaking point can be a challenging and difficult experience, but it is possible to move past it and come out stronger on the other side. It's important to acknowledge and accept the reality of the situation, rather than denying it or trying to avoid it. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but what you can control is how you decide to not be reduced by those circumstances or situations. You need to find meaning in the experience you went through, whether it's through learning a lesson or discovering a new sense of purpose. But what is the takeaway? Did you lose your job? Did you even enjoy it? Did you have a business that failed? Okay, what can you do differently on the next business that you didn't do with this one? You can't let emotions cloud your judgment or let them determine how you behave. When you've reached a breaking point, remember, it's all about self. You need to stop and take a step back from the situation. Then evaluate the situation and identify the source of the problem. Lean on support from other people if necessary, whether it's through talking to a friend or seeking professional help. Focus on self-care through activities like exercise, meditation, or practicing gratitude. That is focusing on self. The breaking points that we face in our lives don't just challenge who we are. They literally define us. But you need to learn how to prevent a breaking point before it happens, but also know how you can effectively deal with a breaking point when you inevitably face it. It's all about developing mental toughness. But if you want to know 10 habits of successful people, you should also check this video out.